Storm, a comedy game design podcast by two guys who know nothing about comedy nor game design. I'm Trevor Scott, and with me, as always, is Ben Slinger.
Hello. Do you know, the other day I found myself trying to think what our intro was, and it literally took me a moment. Like, I had to run through it in my head because it's such muscle memory.
Yeah.
That
it's all muscle memory.
It actually
now,
felt wrong when I thought about what it actually was. We've been doing this for a while now, folks.
Yeah. I actually find it very much like when I play some of the older right songs on the bass.
There you go.
Some of them are muscle memory only. If I think forward, I will fuck it up.
Yep.
But if I just let the body just go,
yep,
I'll get to a certain point and it'll just continue.
It's an interesting feeling. It's an interesting feeling. Well, listen,
I don't think it's like that with the Kurita songs because I haven't played them in so many years.
That's been a while.
Been a while.
But not looking forward is what this is all about, because this is an improvised game design podcast, and we're going to
about looking back.
Pitch.
Exactly.
It's about being in the moment and saying what comes to mind. So this is a game where we each have a random word generator in front of us, and on the count of 3, 2, 1, click, we're each going to get a word. We're going to jam them together, and we're going to see what sort of game design comes out of it.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Awesome. 3, 2, 1,
click.
Rewind. Row.
Oh, panda.
Row and panda.
Is this a
panda in a rowboat?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was trying to think, where is the panda rowing?
Or is this
to or
rows
from?
of pandas? Like, people have been planting pandas.
It's like a panda orchard.
Yes, panda orchard. I like it. I like it a lot.
Maybe do we take this in a general direction of like some sort of world where creatures are grown in that way?
So, because this is actually going to come out like the week after Halloween, and the next episode isn't a Halloween episode. This is a Halloween episode, and therefore this is a kind of fucked up horror game where, everything now grows on trees. Like,
Everything.
you know how everything.
Money, bread, booze, pandas, animals,
serial killers.
Serial killers. Oh, okay. Okay. So someone's...
Yeah, and cereal. And cereal boxes. Like, if you...
Yeah, don't get those mixed up. Because you could be trying to plant a nice crop of cornflakes. And instead you'll get... But no, you got
Freddy's. Cornflakes, the guy who literally turns people into flakes. And his name's
Cornflakes.
But it's corn with an okay. It kind of felt like this.
Like the band?
This felt like the band. I just realised.
His has an upside down R, though, not backwards.
Yes.
There's definitely a better serial killer pun we could have found there, but let's not dwell on that. So,
Rice bubbles. He literally puts air into people and they explode. They go snap, crackle, and pop.
First they snap. That's the bones. Then they crackle because he actually cooks them at the same time, and then they pop as he slowly inflates them.
Yes.
Okay, so I like this world.
Yes.
Is this a situation where someone has like maliciously planted a serial killer tree somewhere and it has bloomed this Halloween?
Oh, yes. Yes. So you're a farmer.
Okay.
And your whole thing is you go off and you cultivate some of your crops and all this sort of stuff. But then you get called in because it's like you're the only one who understands, what we're actually looking for. Someone's planted the serial killer crop. As we've got like a whole heap of them right now, and it's around Halloween. Yeah. So it's kind of like one of those things where it's in media res. You know that this character knows more than what he's sort of putting out there. He's obviously now just a simple farmer, but back in the day, I think.
Oh yeah, he was like some sort of investigative something. It's weird that I was going to say he worked for like the FDA when I think we've literally already had that. Oh no, it was the EPA last time.
EPA,
it was the EPA. So maybe we used to work for. He was like
Food and Drug Administration.
He was one of the FDA's top brass when it came to illegal growing
crops.
Yeah.
Legal growing of crops.
So maybe then he's been brought into a cereal orchard, but cereal trees and serial killer trees look very similar.
Yes, they do.
And I think it's more like they don't know yet that that's what this is. It's just this tree has had all its like has had all its blooms stolen, its fruit stolen.
There's a whole row. There's a whole row.
There's a whole row, and it's like these ones are slightly different. I don't know what's going on, and all their fruit's gone. You know, they bloomed earlier than my other cereal trees. You see all these little it's like the camping ones.
The small packets. The small packets.
The little small packets of cereal. That's what happens when they fall from the tree too early. They pack plastic them up and put them in the little mini camping packs. Well, we use them for camping, whatever.
See, you know how they've got the flaps that open up. That's you know, on the side that has the perforation down the middle and all that sort of stuff. They grow out of that.
Yeah,
like when it goes to the full box,
skull. It's like a baby's skull that like
it fuses together.
Yeah, the perforations fuse together as they get bigger. Absolutely. But this this line of trees, yes, all that's left is like the sort of the nubs that they like, the fruit, you know, like the stems essentially. And there's like a little bit of hair on them and a little bit of like scalp.
Bristle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you have to, the first thing is you investigate this, and sort of at the end of that first scene when you've gathered all the evidence and stuff,
you find a Shatner mask and you realize, oh shit.
Who had a Shatner mask?
This isn't just a serial killer. This is Michael Myers himself.
Is that a Shatner mask?
Yes.
He doesn't have that all the time, though, does he?
That's the mask.
Is it?
The mask that Michael Myers in Halloween wears was literally a William Shatner mask that was made as like a Kirk death mask. They painted it white.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And that's why it's,
Gotcha.
So yeah, it's a Shatner mask, and you go, oh shit. Like, they've
so that we don't get sued. It's a Spock mask.
Yes, it's a Spock mask,
and it's
and his name is Richard.
It's David Jones.
David Jones. It's Ryan Reynolds. Why not? Instead of Michael Myers.
Ryan Reynolds. We won't get in trouble for that one. That's fine.
It's just a character. It's just a character. You know, named Ryan Reynolds.
It's Daniel Carvey. Instead of Mike Myers and Michael Myers.
Daniel Carvey.
I assume Dana's short for Daniel, right?
I don't know.
I don't think so. Okay.
3, 2, 1, click.
All right.
No,
okay.
Let's
stick it, because I think this is a fun world.
It is.
So, you find signs at least of multiple serial killers.
Yes.
And I think part of this is maybe like looking up in your book, like there could be sort of actual research involved of, you know, the types of leaves on it.
Yeah. I mean, in the Sierra parlance, that's your copy protection as well as part of the game.
Yeah, definitely. You have to look up the leaf shape, and it's like, what is this? What tree has leaves that look like a butcher knife?
This is the Ryan Reynolds one. What about this one? Oh, this is Jesse Baines. Oh shit, this is the one from Police Quest.
How do you remember that? Jesus. Yeah. So that's the starter, and then I guess, are you trying to round them up, or is that not your job? Because you're just the expert on the plants.
I think you go in and you can help with the investigation because you understand the plants.
Maybe you need to like quickly grow a, you know, serial serial killer tracking plant.
Yeah.
That like grows GPS tracker things that can find them.
The thing is, the only one that you've got is the one that makes a clone of your ex-wife.
Oh, this tracker is a person.
Yeah, this tracker is a person.
Right. Okay. I guess.
Because I guess this is all clones. Yeah.
Like everyone.
This is all grown from seeds.
Yeah.
And there's lots of different clones
because they're grafted from the same. It's like how all apples are a clone
apples
of the.
Are all,
clones. Yeah.
And all bananas.
Yeah.
What the fuck did we do to food? Like, it's all food is just fucking clones.
Well, that's what makes
then
this interesting. Then in this game to explore monocultures or whatever. Yeah, if all of these different types of people. So you were grown on, like, okay, are these trees? I guess how many different types of these trees are there? Like, how often is it like you have your family tree and every family is just a bunch of clones of the same person?
Oh, I do love that. You know, the family tree is literally a tree
that you grow your family from. Maybe what it is like when two people get married, the way they
graft them,
they like splice them together, like one branch onto the other person's family tree,
and
or vice versa.
as part of when you become old enough to have, you know, chosen a profession and you become, you know, fully trained in it, and you know, you get to a certain point, then you also, you know, gift one of your seeds, basically.
Yeah.
And that allows another clone to be grown really fast to replace.
I think when they're atop of their field, like people, then those seeds get shared around,
get selected,
as a way to replicate those skills in another clone, another person.
So this basically,
your ex-wife, is she dead? Like, maybe she died. Maybe it's not. Maybe
I think that, you know, your ex-wife is actually still out there. This is just another clone, and it just happens to be.
But if you need someone to track people down, and your ex-wife was a really good tracker, why wouldn't you just call her?
She's gone at the moment. She's
okay. She's out of the
incommunicado.
Yeah.
She doesn't want anything to do with you.
She's run off with your two kids that you had together
because of what you did.
Yes.
The last time there was a serial killer tree.
Ooh.
So I think we both know where this is heading to. That one of your clones is the one who planted and cultivated the tree. And
I hadn't even. That's a great. Yes, that's a great little twist there, though. Definitely.
So basically, there's a circumstance in which your character could have gone down the pathway of being the most evil person.
Yeah. Yeah, well, with your cultivation knowledge, with your knowledge of trees and growing things, serial killer trees are hard to grow. Like, they require, you know, very specific
constant monitoring
circumstances, and somehow this person has grown a whole row of them. Yeah.
And not just one variety, but like a whole heap of them.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think, you know, we can go down, you know, the different monsters, as we call them, even though they're regular people, but they just happen to be, you know, there's a guy with knives on his hands. There's a guy with a hockey mask.
Yes. Yeah.
But they don't get named.
No, of course not. We take the archetypes from popular horror movies.
Yes.
And I think we stick with, like movie slashers, not like real life serial killers.
Oh, no.
Because that gets a bit dark.
You don't want Boston Strangler walking around.
No.
He's just weird.
Yeah. Fuck that guy.
Kills lots of clones.
I love this world, though. I feel like I don't know that we've fully clarified the process of which, like, and we don't need to necessarily, but like, when a tree blooms, is it a baby? But there's certain methods where you can speed up the growth so that it actually grows as a fully grown human.
I think depending on how long you let the seed grow for.
Right.
Like,
okay.
it doesn't take that long. Like, basically, I'm thinking it's kind of like, remember Back to the Future 2, where they had like the rehumidifier or whatever it was,
Yeah.
and they could take that small Pizza Hut pizza, put it in there, and it became a huge one. It's kind of like that, where they can take the seed, they can put it in there and rehumidify it, and it turns into like people size very, very quickly.
Well, I think what's interesting though as well
So it's a rehumanifier.
Rehumidifier. That's pretty good. I like the idea though of just in normal growth. Usually,
it takes a while.
It takes a while, but it is about how long you leave them on the tree. So I think there's actually laws against, like, if you want a child, and so you graft your trees together, and it starts growing fruit, you cannot leave that child on the tree longer than like a certain amount of time, because it's like it creates problems when people don't have their full like childhood memories if they're essentially born as like a 6-year-old or a 10-year-old or whatever. But that is fully possible if you manage to keep them growing on that tree. They will ripen to a later age before they actually achieve their consciousness.
And then they actually have learning difficulties because they didn't learn at that early age.
Exactly. And so the only people who do this are law enforcement in this point, when you need to quickly grow a clone. And I think then
in this case, it is a 1-to-1 clone. It is not a grafted clone. So it's not
that's it. It's not grafted. It is grafted from that, like from their original tree, but it's from the branch that they grew on, essentially. But it has predefined memories through a process that through like I think this is one of those things that through flashbacks and that sort of stuff, you find out that your father or something, or your mother, she was the one who created this whole technology. And because I think you can actually kind of do the whole thing of the chromosomes have kind of diminished to such a point that all we can do to procreate is clone now. Like, it could just be an alternate world where we're fucking tree people. Like everything's, we're essentially sentient trees in a way, or sentient fruit, I guess. Yeah, like whatever justification there we want. Or it could be a like post-human world where, yes, we essentially we can grow everything through genetic splicing and stuff. But, I think you can have a lot of fun.
I kind of like the idea. I kind of like the idea that the whole police force is like just two different types of people. It's either a Jack or a Jenny.
Right.
Like, they're all Jacks and Jennies. So it's like, Captain Jenny? Okay.
Well, I wonder again if it's like almost the ranks. Like, the rank and file are just Jacks and Jennies because they've just proved to be pretty good beat cops. Yep. But then, like, the captain at each police station is generally a Judy, because the Judy, varietal proved particularly good in that role, and so it gets spread around every time they need another police chief or whatever. They grow one up, or they just find one. Like, I think people still, people still. I guess the thing is that there are two things here, because generally just regular people wanting to have a child, they will splice their trees, right? They will splice their branches, and so they are getting aspects of both, and it's not necessarily breeding for specific features.
No, it's a new being. It's just that they're grown on trees.
Yes, yeah, exactly. They're not a clone. They're not specifically a clone then. But yes, in a lot of cases, when it comes to specific jobs and stuff, there are particular varietals, particular breeds that are used. I love that.
Okay, this is so fucking weird, and we've just built this whole world. Now, the gameplay, It's a match 3.
It's a match 3. No. No, I think it's. I think it's basically an adventure, right? I think it's an adventure with sort of researchy elements. You're learning about the world as you go around.
I know exactly what type of game this is. Now, there was a game that came out in the 90s called Spycraft, the great game.
Oh God, it was just FMV,
just an FMV game with minimal interaction, and minimal puzzles. I could see
this as an FMV game. That could be cool. It's very sort of dark and moody. A lot of it would be around the performance of people.
The thing is, the puzzles are exactly the same. So there's this one that you got to kind of Photoshop an image together, and you have to get the cigarettes in the exact right fucking position.
I don't know that we need to replicate the frustrations of
Jesus Christ.
Of that game. How many CDs did that come on?
4.
4. Okay. Not quite the X-Files game.
Damn, it was 3. It was 3.
Not quite the X-Files game. I think I had 7.
Not quite Phantasmagoria, which had 7, and Phantasmagoria 2 had 5.
There you go.
I tell you what, I cannot believe that Phantasmagoria got, it got banned here in Australia.
Mm-hmm.
Think about that. A Sierra game got banned in Australia.
I mean, this was prior to our R rating, so... Yeah, but I think I'm going to keep going because I feel like this whole episode's this game.
Oh my God.
Or we can wrap it up. But,
yep, sure.
I was just going to say that I think, we could go FMV game with sort of puzzle stuff, and it definitely just has to end with you, chopping down all these trees or something, or, burning them maybe. You're making sure that these serial killers can't be grown again, and there's got to be a showdown with you and your other... your clone, essentially.
Recently I watched again for the umpteenth time Hot Fuzz.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And I can see the sort of, quiet village sort of thing, and you find it just playing around with some of those tropes, and just dark alley, fog sort of rolls in, and you just see a shadowy figure standing there.
And then they step out from the shadows, and
they step out, and then behind them step another few shadows, because it's
there's a whole bunch of them.
They've got
a crew.
They've got their crew of serial killers.
Oh, right, I see. Yeah.
And then they disappear, and it's did you see anything? Did you just imagine that? There's something about FMV, and recently Seventh Guest came out in VR.
Mm-hmm.
They've taken FMV to the next level. They've got this really, really cool camera system that they've used to take the video of the people that basically presents them in 3D.
Right. Okay.
It is actual video footage.
So interesting, because you and I had wondered about that when we saw the trailer. Yeah.
And then when you see it, you go, oh no, this is definitely video footage, and you can go on different angles and see. So they've filmed it from all around these people.
That's cool.
And it's really, really quite cool, and really interesting the way it actually works.
We'll just use that tech.
We'll just use that exact tech. Cool.
All right. I think we can 3, 2, 1 click. I don't think we can get another 5 minutes or 10 minutes out of this. Lodger.
Following.
That's perfect for Halloween.
I know. It's I could have gone with my first word, but I didn't think that would work, and I made the executive decision to not go with radical.
Yeah. Well, I had contraceptive, so that would have been a very different game.
Radical contraceptive.
I mean, that's horror for some people, if the contraception doesn't work. Okay, following and lodger. Yeah. Okay, so this is definitely like a Hostel game, the movie Hostel, or someone comes to stay at a Airbnb.
It's kind of like one of those Airbnbs that we stayed in for the Global Game Jam that year, where people were still in the front house and we borrowed.
Yep.
So you don't quite know the people that you're hiring to.
Yeah.
And it's just, you think that it's all good, and, you've lent out the back section of your house to someone, and you've set the lock on the door so they can't get in.
Yep.
You get out of the shower and they're just standing there.
Ooh, I was going to say that door's open, but yeah, that's
and they're just like, oh, I was just coming in to get some milk, and it's sort of like that's all good. Can you please go back on that side? And if you need anything, just knock on the door. And, he goes, I did knock, and then the door just swung open. And so I thought, oh, I guess I can just come in. And so anyway, it's one of those things of...
Yeah, well, I like that a lot. It reminds me of, I can't remember what it's called, but there's a movie. It's a fairly recent one. Maybe The Mother or something. No, that was a different one. Anyway, essentially like two people are booked in the same Airbnb, and
Barbarian.
Is it Barbarian? Oh, I didn't think I'd seen that, but yeah, I think you're right. That's with the tunnels under the house and stuff.
Yeah. Barbarian.
Okay. But the start of that is very interesting because you don't know whether the guy is sinister or not. Like, he seems nice, but there's sort of these weird things, and then also about her too. And like, you don't know who's playing who, or who might be the bad guy or not. And so I like bringing that sort of tension into it. Then of this person that is lodging here is just acting weird in these ways that you can't quite put a finger on. Crossing boundaries, but just slightly in these weird ways.
Yeah,
but then obviously building up to something more kind of horrific.
And we don't have to go down the whole story of what Barbarian is.
No.
We can stick with like that first part of that movie was like
that's it. It was
it felt unsettling.
Yes,
and
it's just that
if you can sit in that for a while.
Yeah.
If you can sit in that for a while.
I mean, even just creating that in a game at all would be very challenging. And we get to do it because we're just talking about it and not actually having to do it. So we're saying, just create that feeling of unsettling feeling from horror movies in a game.
And keep it there for about the 3.5 hours that this tale would take to tell.
Well, and I think, I mean, yes, try to sustain it for some of it, but I think a lot of it comes from the ups and downs of that, where like after a little while you're like, oh, okay, it was nothing. Like now they're acting normal. So it was fine. But then something else happens, and then it builds up. It's sort of the waves of that feeling coming and going. And then maybe it is something like, oh, now we trust this person, but now that unsettling feeling is coming from somewhere else. Like,
yeah, exactly. So I was reading into the psychology behind like jump scares and all that sort of stuff. And the whole reason for it is to let out that tension and just let that air out of the balloon a little bit so that you can fill that air back up and rebuild that tension. Yeah. So jump scares are good in certain points. I do not want jump scares all the way through this game. So if you ever make
and
it,
they can't
anyone
be
makes
cheap.
it.
They can't be cheap jump scares.
They've got to be earned.
Yeah. And look, like, jump scares can be difficult in games, but also you can take advantage of the medium in a lot of ways, because you can just make someone appear behind them.
Exactly.
So that when
it doesn't matter which
around,
way they're facing, because as long as their back isn't up against a wall, the second their back's up against the wall, you can't have them any.
No, unless you remove the wall, you put a hallway there.
Oh, yes. I forgot that we can do that because it's a video game. So this actually reminds me of one of the best horror games that people will always say, a full game of this would have been amazing. It was PT. Which turned out to be like literally a trailer for a new Silent Hill. Yeah. That Hideo Kojima was going to be making. And then, we all know what happened there with him being let go at Konami, and then he made Death Stranding. So when I was looking into how they did a lot of that stuff, is they actually attached like the creepy thing to your back. So as you're running around, it was continually following you and all this sort of stuff. It was creepy as anything because it was like you, at any time that they decided to, they could enable it.
Yeah.
And it would be right there on top of you because it was literally attached to your character.
I mean, that makes sense. Like from a game development point of view, if the only thing it's going to interact with is you, then you might as well attach it to, and have it there at all times. Just not using it or enabling it until it's ready. Yeah. I mean, this is the thing. Like, there's so much you can do with games and space and reality, and then shifting that, using things like portal technology to modify space, like things like Psychonauts 2 did a lot of, and stretching space in different ways,
Euclidean spaces and all that sort of stuff, where
like non-Euclidean spaces,
non-Euclidean spaces.
Exactly.
Sorry,
yes.
One of my favorite games of all time is actually Antechamber.
Yes.
Which, we've talked about multiple times.
Yes.
But there are points in that game that is just, he has done such a good job with, like, you run around like the same hallway 3 times and then it comes out totally different on the other side because you can play with these sort of things. And
well, that's it. And from a horror
to actually
context,
have this in a horror context in your house where you think the house is actually normal because, you're actually blaming this guy for, knocking open the door and all this sort of stuff. But what if it was like a poltergeist sort of situation where, like, there's, some reason as to why you're now being haunted. It doesn't matter what that is to start off with. But effectively, what if your hallway started changing? And what if, the size of the house on the inside was actually larger than the outside, kind of Doctor Who.
Oh, that's it. Definitely start playing with that sort of thing. One game that actually did this really quite well, if I recall, was the Batman VR game. There's scenes in that where the whole scenery changes around you, but only when you're not, like, it's only when you turn around, it's changed, but you never see it change. Yep. But it does a very good job of, like, I think it's a dream sequence basically, but, and you end up kind of in this cell and, like, the Joker's outside, I think, from what I recall. But I remember that having some very cool stuff that it wouldn't trigger until you turned around. So you could kind of game it a bit by just not turning around. But, like, if you're playing it in good faith, essentially, it created some really interesting, creepy moments of that unsettling feeling because the reality is changing around you.
Yeah.
I think, I like the idea that it's more that it's almost the house that's haunted. In the end, then, like, you think it's this person, but then you're both in it together. And it turns out actually it's because you went to the wrong side and you listed it on Airbnb. Dun, 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 dun. That's the end of the episode.
Pretty much, yeah. It actually reminds me of a game. Well, someone did a Doom WOD recently called My House.
Yep.
Have you watched it? Looked into that at all?
I played it. I didn't finish it.
You played it.
I didn't finish it because there's a lot to it. But
there is a lot in it, and it's based off bits and pieces of House of Leaves, which is a weird, fucked up book that you literally have to have the actual book to. There's no way of getting like an audio book or anything like that of it because
it's around the format, like it plays with the format.
The way it plays with the format and the fact that there are literal holes in the book which are being printed out that show through to the next page and all this sort of stuff. It's cool. Just
I need to look into that.
It's one of those things of it is a horror story that someone starts noticing that the house on the inside is actually different sizes, and then there's other unfinished parts of the manuscript that goes between a few different people, and it's just at certain points of the book you have to actually rotate the book because of the way it's being printed is on a different angle, and
that's cool.
It can definitely feel claustrophobic and you can feel agoraphobic at the same time because of just how it's actually written. So that's definitely something I've been wanting to wanting to actually read. I've read so much about it, and I'm like, oh, this is the sort of thing that I really, really enjoy.
That's cool.
What they did with my house was amazing.
Yeah, I have read up on it a bit. I read up on it
when I got a certain part through it, and I started getting like really freaked out by, I went out and was like, oh, I don't remember there being windows there, and then you go back inside, and then I couldn't get out, and I'm like, oh shit, like
I stopped when I got frustrated because I couldn't find the ways, because it does become this, even though it's a relatively small number of rooms. Yes, as you go through this door, you're essentially in a different version of the house, then things have changed, and you can see. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, it's incredibly impressive, even just from a technical level of it being a Doom WOD, particularly with some of the ways you can see into the spaces.
Well, it becomes even more impressive when you remember, oh yeah, in Doom, you can't have two levels of each other, because that is, that is something that the engine literally cannot handle.
Yes.
Like, and all of a sudden that's like, oh shit, the amount of work that's gone into this to make this maze, and, they added I got stuck in the back rooms at one stage. And if you've read anything about it up on the back rooms, like I just quit the game.
Yeah.
Like, because I happened to go into a closet and it opened up, and I'm like, oh great, I'll just walk into this. And I was just like, yeah, no, I cannot, like, because when I turned around, I couldn't get out. And I'm like, oh shit, I've got to go through this thing. And
that's cool.
I dislike horror games in certain points, because
I can't play some of them, particularly
it feels like it's happening to me.
I tried playing that fucking Walking Dead game in VR, and it was too stressful.
Oh yeah, Saints and Sinners. Yeah.
Anyway, that's the end of the episode. You've caught us just chatting for a bit for the last few minutes.
That's good.
But
we're talking game design stuff.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. Listen,
it's adjacent.
If you want to, it's adjacent. And Freddie,
yes.
If you want to find our other episodes online, go to podchaser.com/bitstorm. They're all there. I was going to make a joke about finding them offline, but I think I've done that before, so I'm going to not.
And also, if you like the song that we play at the start and end of each episode, that song is called Mount Defiance, off of the album Containment Failure by Kuradust. You won't find that at your local JB, but you can find it at kuradust.bandcamp.com for free.
That's right. So thank you again for joining us this week on Bitstorm. I'm Ben Slinger.
I'm Trevor Scott.
And I'm off to water my panda tree.
Well, I'm off to water my family tree.
Oh, you're trying for another. Don't let it grow too long.
I did.